Well, here we are. I honestly was going to be totally fine, but there's something about music and video that just pulls emotion. Obviously, mine is pretty raw, but that's one of the things that, out of the many, many, many talents that Eric had, was knowing music, knowing the right tone, knowing the right timing, knowing the right lyric, knowing the right song for the right occasion. And his daughter, Alyssa, clearly has it, because I was fine until the music played. But here we are. So I'm going to be okay. It's going to be all right. So I'm recording this ahead of time because I figured I would not be able to handle it if it was live. I am chatting with you guys live, though, so that part of me is real. This part of me is recorded on Sunday. So yeah, it's been a lot. It's been a whole lot going on. I am sure most of you know by now, because you have been following us, you've been tracking us. You follow us on different platforms on social media, where we try to make sure that all of our friends and Heart and Home Orlando family and real family were able to follow along and to be updated, because we know that Eric has so much been in your thoughts and in your prayers, and the notes of encouragement and the cards and the gifts and the funny text messages and the things like that, helping him and helping me prepare for what we thought was going to be our Praying for a Miracle Day on January 7th, where we were supposed to be in Miami speaking with a transplant surgeon in hopes for that miracle. As it turned out, didn't work out that way. So I'm just going to give you kind of a quick overview, and just rest assured, I'm going to try my best next week to be back on Coffee Time, and we'll talk real estate, a little bit of personal stuff always, because you're part of our family and part of our life. But back to the nitty gritty of what Heart and Home Orlando is, and probably why you actually follow us, which is probably the real estate stuff. But let me give you kind of an overview as to what happened, because I know you may know, but you may not know what in the world's going on, what in the world happened. And we know that so many of you have broken hearts as well. And we thank you for that. We thank you for that. Eric felt so much love, the outpouring of it. As I tried to update on Facebook throughout those last, I don't know. I mean, it was New Year's Eve to January 8th when he passed. So that entire period of time, we tried to let people know sporadically when we could, but it was most important for me and for our family to be with Eric. But I'll give you kind of a quick little overview. Okay, I gotta put my glasses on. We're back to the Amy normal. I gotta make sure I push the right button, because I do not want to ruin this. Okay, so essentially what happened, you all know Eric had a PSC, primary sclerosing cholangitis. That was really, and has been, the biggest issue that he was dealing with. Because of that, some other issues came to light, which was the cancer, the cholangiocarcinoma, which is basically bile duct cancer. You all followed us knowing that we were praying that the tumor did not grow, that it stayed a certain size, because that meant he would be a candidate for a transplant. And all of that chaos and the delay, candidly, there's a part of me that really feels like that delay cost him his life. But we're not going to talk about that right now. But him being able to get the transplant, trying to keep that tumor at bay, going through the chemo, and then everyone was helpful with the chemo, giving us great ideas. I don't think everyone fully understood the chemo was not so much, or the cancer was not so much the problem. It was candidly, the cancer was an issue, but we needed to keep that at bay so that he could become a candidate for a transplant. As you all know, we had some insurance issues. We get our insurance squared away. We get referred back to Mayo, and they order an MRI. We find out immediately that tumor has grown twice the size. That is where Miami came in. So those of you that had, and guys, I am just amazed at how many of you actually had, including my neighbors here, had January 7th on their calendar. The number of text messages I was getting and Facebook messages on January 7th saying, praying for you guys today. Hope you get, great news in Miami. And it was doubly crushing because at that time we were in hospice. We were at the hospice house. So the long and short of it is New Year's Eve that morning. Eric woke up 7:41, sent me a text message that just said help. And I ran down to help, and he was just having trouble breathing, hyperventilating. Could not determine if that was just an anxiety attack that was coming on because he'd had a few of those, or if it was something more dire in nature. We have a blood pressure cuff here at the house. Took blood pressure. It was high. We realized we needed to get him to the ER. So we did. 7:41, he texted me help, and at 8:27, I believe it was, he had already been intubated at the ER. That's how fast and quickly things happened. Not to go into every single little detail, but ultimately he was in very bad shape at that time. At that point, there was a blood clot that was pushing on the heart. So the lung was filled with fluid. The clot was big, was pushing on the heart. The heart was in distress, and they wanted to airlift him to Orlando Regional. Couldn't fly for some reason. They said the weather wasn't great. So they transported him, and there he actually stayed in CCU until, I'm looking at Allie over here, just like 2 days, maybe 2-3 days before he passed. No, it was 2 days before he passed. He was in CCU. And that was tough because we knew he wasn't doing well. And that's where we were getting the bad news that at that point, all of his doctors concurred that they did not think he was going to be a candidate for a transplant anymore, that the clot in his lung was going to disqualify him. So that was kind of devastating news. And at that point, I think Eric knew that his last shot was gone. And I think things kind of, they deteriorated rather quickly from there. It was like the bubble was burst. So we went, originally they said weeks to months. Like that's what they told us in the hospital. We had weeks to months. So I'm thinking months, right? I'm thinking as many months as I can get. And I'm still hopeful, and I'm still pushing for that. Okay, but if we get this clot taken care of, are we going to be able to, still get to Miami or still have a conversation with them? And everyone just essentially said no. We had weeks to months. So there we were. There's some other issues. He had a main line. He had a chest tube continuing to drain all this fluid that I don't even know where it was coming from. This poor man was filled with so much fluid, and things were just going wrong at every level. And we, for a hot minute, was going to come home and do some hospice care in our house until such time as they thought it was closer and he would go to the hospice house. But things just kind of changed quickly, and he said he didn't want to come home to our home here. He wanted to go straight to the hospice house, and they are an absolute godsend. I've never had an experience with hospice, but the calling and the gift and the heart that they have it's indescribable and it's immeasurable. They are true angels. And they took care of my sweet Eric. I was there with him. That first night I stayed all night. It was very difficult. And then we had a lot of family time. We had quite a few family moments where, honestly, I couldn't have asked for anything more. He could not have asked for anything more. We had an amazing, one of his best friends from childhood had come in from North Carolina and ended up being with us the day that they moved him out of the CCU to a step-down room, which from there he went to the hospice house. But that day, it was a very impromptu, everyone was there at the same time, including his friend, and he had this room with this gorgeous view of Orlando. And Eric said, he kept saying, he goes, oh, it's a good day to die. It's a pretty day. I'm like, dude, stop. Like, not today, please. But that's Eric, his humor. But we had some wonderful, intimate family moments, some great conversations, obviously music. And then we went to the hospice house, and we had another, you'll like this one. We had another moment. Eric had, his instructions were no medication until I got there and until the family got there and until we all agreed that he could have some medication. And so we all got there. We all huddled around. Our friends Daryl and Jen and their kids were there with us. They're at the Cornerstone Hospice, by the way. They're amazing. And Eric, out of the blue, he asked me to get Do you remember this, Allie? He asked me to get, and he, by the way, he was really struggling at this point. I mean, speaking was difficult, like everything was difficult. He asked for me to get some paper and a pencil or a pen. So I'm thinking he's gonna like give me some like profound something I could share. And he literally says, take everybody's Taco Bell order. This man has not had food in 6 months. He's had nothing but protein shakes and Gatorade and water, an occasional piece of watermelon that was juicy so that he could get it down, but nothing else, no real food. And so we ordered Taco Bell. That was his wish, Taco Bell of all things. And he ordered himself 2 crunchy tacos. Dude, he just had high expectations. And I tell you, I don't think I've ever been happier than when I heard him crunch into that stupid taco. And he looked at me and he says, I did that for you. Because I know that he knew it was probably gonna be the last thing that he ate. And it was, because shortly after that, the medication started. And then from there, things progressed and he passed. And he did pass early in the morning on January 8th. So from New Year's Eve to January 8th, it was a whirlwind. It was both beautiful and tragic. It was both filled with miracles we didn't expect, and we didn't get the ones we wanted. But we are where we are, and he is not in pain. He's finally healthy again. And he knows how loved he was. And that was one of the things that he said toward the end of the many things. And I'm not going to share everything with you because he was my husband. But he did say, do you think I'm loved? Dude, if you only knew. If he only knew. And here's the thing. I think he did know in the end. He did. I sat in the hospital and I would read him all of the Facebook messages, and I would read him all of the private messages and the text messages and the emails, and just countless. They just didn't end, and they still don't end. So for that, we are grateful. And I know that most of you only know him through this little tiny platform. You don't know us from childhood, from when he played football or when he played Little League. You don't know him from the performing days. You don't know him from college. You don't know him from all of those other things that created this beautiful man. But we're happy that in your life you were able to get to know him in some capacity, and he you for that matter. So now, as we move on, Heart and Home still exists. It existed before my sidekick took my thunder, and like just everyone loved him. Kidding, by the way. But I will miss him terribly. I know you will miss him terribly. We're still doing our thing. It will be different. You know, I don't know that the breaking news is going to happen. That's not quite as fun anymore if Eric's not on the other side of the island, right? But we're here. We're still here for you. I'm still here for you. And we're going to keep going, and we're going to have hopefully a regular coffee time. There's a lot being put on the shoulders of my kids at the moment, specifically Alyssa, for trying to get coffee time up and running. It may be a little bit more condensed version of it. But at any rate, we appreciate you all so much. We cannot thank you enough for being a part of our life, and more importantly, a part of Eric's journey. I can't express to you how amazing everybody has been. And yeah, it's sad, and I'm feeling all the feels, and I'm not ready really truly to accept it yet. We're still in the throes of the chaos, and the aftermath, but I'm here. I'm in my house. I'm in our house. I'm here ready to do coffee time, and I am working. So at this point, if you're ready to buy a house, I'm happy to help. If you're ready to sell your house, I'm happy to help. If you ask to see Eric or for an autograph, I'm sorry, Eric won't be available for that anymore. But you got me, so you know, like was it chopped liver? Is that what I am? I'm chopped liver. Anyway, I'm kidding. All right, guys, I will see you hopefully next week. If we're not here next week, it's because we just have some technical difficulties that we may need to get worked out before we can do the live the way we have done it in the past. But until then, I want to thank you again. Going to chat here with you. Love you guys so much. So appreciative of you. I'm going to make sure I push the right button because some things are never going to change, my friends. Amy can't find the buttons. All right, Allie's pointing it out right here. I got it. All right. I'll see you guys next week. Again, we love you guys so much. Please stay safe, stay well. Remember, we love you, and happy house hunting. Bye, guys.